right, go ahead.
Chair Barkley, go ahead.
Okay. Good morning and welcome to the April 22nd PSTA.
Wait, hold. Okay, 1 second. Okay. Okay.
Good morning and welcome to the April 22nd PSTA Board of Directors meeting. We are holding this meeting as a virtual meeting in light of the current medical emergency. I wish to read the following statement to let the public know that we are in compliance with the governor's executive order, the Sunshine Law, and PSTA's own rules and regulations, and so the public knows how they may participate in this meeting. Pursuant to the governor's executive order number 20-69, suspending all Florida statutes, including PSTA's special act that requires a quorum to be present in person at local government public meetings, or that requires a local government body to meet at a special specific public place, PSTA may conduct meetings of its board of directors without having a quorum of its members present physically or at any specific location, and utilizing commercial communications media technology, such as telephonic or video conferencing, as provided by Section 120.54, paren 5, paren C of the Florida statute. As the PSTA meetings are closed, none of us, nor any member of the public, be allowed into PSTA's administrative offices, including the auditorium and boardroom where meetings are normally conducted. Notice of this meeting will be held by communication technology and not a physical location was posted on PSTA's website at least 7 days ago. The notice also provided that those members of the public needing reasonable accommodation to participate in the meeting to contact the clerk for assistance at least 2 days before this meeting. PSTA has developed several methods of ensuring that the ability of the public to comment prior to and during the virtual meeting. It has established these options. 1, during the meeting, the public can provide public comments via telephone by calling 727-540-1990 and follow the prompts. The meeting ID is 6177. The password is 86753. Individuals will be able to speak for 3 minutes during the public comment period. Again, to make a public comment today during the meeting, members of the public should call 727-540-1990, meeting ID 6177, password 86753. This line is being monitored by PSTA staff Larissa, who will inform me, and we will call on you to speak at the appropriate time. The second option allowed for the public to submit written comments prior to the meeting by mail to PSTA 3201 Shearer Drive, St. Petersburg, Florida 33716. No such public comment was received. The third option allows the public to submit comments by email before or during the meeting at publiccomments@psta.net. If the public comments received before or during the meeting are 400 words or less, we will read them aloud during the meeting at the appropriate time for public comment. Public comment that exceeds 400 words will be provided to the board members in writing. Any documents that the public submitted to the clerk have been provided to the board members prior to the meeting. All comments submitted will be included as part of the public record for this meeting and will be considered by the board prior to any action taken. When addressing the board, the member of the public must first state his or her name and his or her address. This meeting is being recorded. By continuing to participate in the meeting by electronic means, All those that speak are consenting to the recording of this meeting and all comments. Please silence all cell phones and other noise-making devices. PSTA is using a cloud platform called WebEx for video and audio conferencing of this meeting across board members' mobile devices, desktops, and telephones. The public has the ability to view this meeting through a live stream on PSTA's youtube.com page or on PSTA's website. The public is not required to purchase or download any additional software or equipment to watch this meeting. Here is the process I, as chair, will use to run the meeting. I will be assisted in this virtual meeting by both Brad Miller and PSTA's IT Director, Ms. Julie Cagliostro. Currently, all mics are on mute. For each item on the agenda, after the staff presentation, I will ask for board member questions or comments. Raise your hand or unmute yourself and let Brad and I know and see your interest in commenting, and we will call on you. When it comes time for a vote, I will ask for a motion and a second, and please state your name when making these for the record. I will then ask for public comment and repeat the phone number for the public to call. Following public comments, I will conduct a roll call vote. Whenever I call on you to speak, unmute your mic by clicking the mic button at the bottom of the screen. Please mute back on after you have completed your remarks. This will help alleviate any background noise. I would like to ask everyone to speak clearly and directly into your mics. Okay, so the first thing on our agenda is that we will have a call to order. I would like to confirm you all can speak and see each other, so we will do a roll call. Vice Chair Pat Gerard. Vice Chair Gerard, can you hear me?
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. All right. Secretary Treasurer Gina Driscoll.
Here.
Good, thank you. Commissioner David Albritton.
Present.
Commissioner Richard Bennett.
Present.
Commissioner Vince Cox.
I am here.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Samantha Finger.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Heather Gracie.
Good morning, Chair. I'm here.
Good morning. Commissioner Charlie Justice.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning. Commissioner Janet Long.
I'm here, but I don't have control of my mute and unmute button anymore.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Darden Rice.
Here. Good morning.
Good morning. Commissioner Keith Sabile. Keith, are you here? Julie, is he on?
I see him on, but I don't, he doesn't have a mute button.
Okay.
He doesn't have
All
a-
right. All right. Commissioner Dan Saraki,
Good morning, Chair. I'm here.
Commissioner Josh Schulman,
Good morning, Chair. I am here as well.
Commissioner Ken Welch.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning. And I am Joe Barkley. Okay, so everyone is present. Thank you. All right. The first thing we need to do in accordance with our legal counsel is to adopt a resolution suspending PSTA's rules and regulations requiring a quorum to be physically present for a meeting due to COVID-19. Alan, can you please read the title of the resolution? Here. Attorney Zimmett, are you here?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, very good. Could you please
So-
read the title of the resolution?
Yes, Resolution 2001, a resolution of the Palo Suncoast Transit Authority, PSTA Board of Directors, immediately suspending all provisions of PSTA's rules and regulations requiring the physical presence of a quorum of the members of the Board of Directors or committees at meetings, or requiring Board of Directors or committee meetings to be held at any certain physical location due to the COVID-19 public health emergency. Authorizing Board of Directors and committee meetings to be conducted by communications media technology during the COVID-19 public health emergency, providing for severability and providing for an effective date and expiration date.
Move approval.
I'll support.
Okay. So I have a motion by Commissioner Long and a second by Commissioner Bennett. All in favor? We're going to have to do this by roll call vote. I will call your name and please say aye or nay.
Chair, you need to ask for public comment, please.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you. Clarissa, do we have any members of the public that have emailed in a comment or wish to speak on this resolution?
Do we have any callers on the line that
Yes.
want to
Yes, I'd like to comment.
and state your name, please?
Thomas Rass, Tom Rass.
Thank you, Mr. Rath. One moment. Are there any other callers on the public comment line that would like to comment? Hearing none, Mr. Rask, you will have 3 minutes to speak.
Starting when?
Starting after you please state your name and address for the record, and then I will start the timer for you. Thank you.
This is Tom Rass, unincorporated Pinellas County. The sound quality is very poor. I have a lot of noise coming at me. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. I sent, good morning, I sent Mr. Zimmett and the board an email this morning commenting on this item. You can look, I'm opposed to it. There needs to be some other solution. I outlined the reasons why I'm opposed to it. Primarily, it has to do with that the governor does not appear to have the authority to suspend any Florida statute, as he says in his executive order, that he suspends any Florida statute that requires a quorum to be present in person. Thank you, the noise is now gone. He simply refers to the 26,000 word Florida Chapter 252. He doesn't give any specific reference to where in the chapter he finds that authority. In his order, executive order immediately preceding this one, which would be 2068, he cited his specific power down to the subsection of the statute, which would be 252.36.5. And the Florida Attorney General opinion that the governor mentioned, I said in my email that he relied on it, he simply mentioned it in his executive order 2069. That Florida Attorney General opinion doesn't say that the governor has the authority to take this action. It only says that the quorum requirement must be, quote, lawfully suspended. I think it's pretty clear that the legislature needs to suspend that or give the governor the authority to suspend it, but they haven't. They probably should have, but they didn't. Mr. Zimmett, I presume he wrote up the resolution. There's a whereas clause where he says the governor has the power to take measures, quote, concerning the calling of public meetings. and gatherings that is taken from a specific Florida statute. However, to have the word call, the calling of public meetings to include suspension of quorum is not warranted in my view. I explained that in my email to you. And please remember that any decision made in a meeting that is later held to be void, that decision is itself void. So any decisions you make today, if this meeting is held, will be void. I'll stop there.
Thank you, Mr. Rath.
Chair Barkley, may I respond? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Clarissa.
Are there any other call-in comments that would like to speak? Okay, hearing none. Just as a reminder, those on the call-in public comment line, please mute your phone until you are called upon to make your public comment. Thank you.
Chair Barkley, this is Alan Zimmer. Can I respond to Mr. Rath's comments?
Can you hear me, Alan?
Yeah, now I hear you.
Okay. Go ahead and respond, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. First of all, and Mr. Rath's email this morning, he cites to statute 166.041 that requires a quorum to be present. In his words, in order to conduct a meeting, that's not accurate. What that statute provides for is the uniform procedures for adoption of ordinances and resolutions by municipalities. And that statute does require a quorum to be physically present. It does not apply to special districts like PSTA. There is no similar statute that provides or requires a physical quorum to be present if that applies to PSTA when it adopts a resolution or takes any other action. The only really requirement that you have that has a physical quorum be present is in your own rules and regulations, which you have the full authority to suspend. And that's why this resolution is suspending the rules and regulations that you've adopted due to the COVID-19 emergency. That's all I wanted to say. I'll try to answer any questions any of the board members may have.
Any questions? Anybody raising their hand? Brad? Is anyone raising their hand, Brad?
Okay. No, I don't see anyone raising their hand.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Dimmitt, for clarifying that. We appreciate it. Okay. Getting back to business. I have a motion and a second. Please make sure your mic is on for the vote. And I'll call your names. Please say your name and your vote. Commissioner Pat Gerard.
Yes.
Commissioner Gina Driscoll.
Yes.
Don't forget to say your name, please.
Oh, Gina Driscoll, yes.
Okay. Commissioner Albritton.
David Albritton, yes.
Commissioner Bennett.
Richard Bennett, yes.
Commissioner Cox.
Vince Cox, yes.
Commissioner Finger.
Commissioner Finger, yes.
Commissioner Gracie.
Heather Gracie, yes.
Commissioner Justice.
Justice, yes.
Commissioner Long.
Janet Long, yes.
Commissioner Rice.
Darden Rice, yes.
Commissioner Sabile.
Keith Sabile, yes.
Commissioner Saraki.
Dan Saraki, yes.
Say your name, Dan.
Dan Saraki, yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Schulman.
Josh Schulman, yes.
Commissioner Welch.
Ken Welch, yes.
Okay, and I, Chair Joe Barkley, vote yes. Okay, the passes unanimously. Thank you very much, everyone. Okay, now we move to the time for public comment, to comment on any of the consent items or on any other topic not on today's agenda. On the screen is the telephone number for the public to call. It again is 727-540-1990, and the the meeting ID is 6177. The password is 86753. If you want to make a comment, I'll pause a few moments. Larissa, are there any? Are there any?
Yes.
Okay. One moment, Mr. Rask. Do we have any other people on the call-in public comment line that would like to speak? Okay, Mr. Rask, you will have 3 minutes. Please state your name and address again for the record. Thank you. Mr. Rask?
Yes. So, Tom Rask, unincorporated Pinellas County. Thank you for that explanation from Mr. Zimmett. I'm not sure why Executive Order 20-69 was cited under the whereas clauses in the resolution then. It also would imply that PSTA doesn't need to declare a state of emergency to conduct virtual meetings. I want to comment on what I'm seeing on my screen right now on YouTube. I see Ms. Driscoll is now present with video, but that was not the case before. So before, all I saw was Mr. Barkley, Ms. Long, and no image of Ms. Driscoll. When you vote, the public cannot see the members present. What I see here is 3 board members. And I don't know if there's a way where, at least when you vote, you can show everybody. Because if what is I see here on YouTube is what's being recorded, then, you know, for all the public knows, there's a voice saying they are so-and-so and they're voting yes or no. But how do you know? There was a very thorough discussion at the City of Tampa's City Council meeting yesterday about all these issues. They're contemplating having future meetings at the convention center where they can sit spaced out properly because of some of these issues. And they were talking not about the quasi-judicial decisions that body makes, but just in general. So I wanted to offer those comments because there's no way for the public to see who's actually voting on these issues. All you hear is a voice. I'll stop there.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments, Larissa?
Those are all the comments, Chair Barkley.
Okay. All right. Attorney Zimmett, do you have any comments to that?
Nothing further to add to what I've already said. Sure.
Thank you very much. Okay. All right. Now we're going to move to the consent agenda. First of all, I'd just like to say that the Finance Committee reviewed most of these items very thoroughly, and we had a very long meeting last week, so these items have been reviewed thoroughly by the Finance Committee. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve consent agenda, Albritton.
Second, Dan Saraki.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Now I'm going to make a roll call vote again, please. Please state your name and your vote, yes or no. Okay, thank you. Please make sure your microphone is on when you vote. Okay, Vice Chair Gerard.
Commissioner Gerard, yes.
Secretary Treasurer Commissioner Driscoll.
Commissioner Driscoll, yes.
Commissioner Albritton.
Albritton, yes.
Commissioner Bennett.
Richard Bennett, yes.
Commissioner Cox.
Cox, yes.
Commissioner Fenger.
Commissioner Fenger, yes.
Commissioner Gracie.
Gracie, yes.
Commissioner Justice,
Justice, yes.
Commissioner Long,
Yes.
Commissioner Heath, are you on?
Frankie,
Thank you. All votes present, yes. One vote not there. Okay, please make sure that your mics are on when we're calling your roll. Okay, thank you very much. So now we've moved to our first major item, which is the Federal Government Affairs Contract. Brad, would you like to handle that one?
Yes. Good morning, everybody. I hope you can hear me. So this item, as the PSTA, those of you who have been with me to Washington, D.C. or have served on the legislative committee are well aware that PSTA, public transit in Pinellas County is very importantly relies on federal, state, and local funds. And it's important for us, 5-year contract. Julie, if you can go back to the slide. I'm not seeing it on my, maybe. There it is. Okay. We issued an RFP for a new contract, and the recommendation is to again hire Van Scoyoc Associates. Van Scoyoc Associates, otherwise is known, for those of you who are on the legislative committee, known as their two great leaders who are on our contract, Harry Glenn, who is a Pinellas County resident, and Steve Palmer, who is the firm's transportation lead and has a number of clients, other public transit clients from around the country as well. They will perform federal government affairs services. Total contract value is not to exceed $420,000. That would be over the maximum 5 years. That represents no increase in price, which is great. And this action would authorize the CEO to exercise the 2 one-year options when those come due. I would be glad to answer any other questions about this. The Finance Committee met last week and unanimously recommends this. Perhaps I could call on the chair of the Legislative Committee, Commissioner Long, to say a few words and perhaps offer a motion. Commissioner Long?
Thank you, Brad. And with your permission, Mr. Chair, I would like to move that we approve this contract for Van Scoyoc. Van Scoyoc has been a remarkable advocate for PSTA. They have shown by their actions over and over and over again, not only their knowledge of their Congress, but the depth in which you have to be able to work with the Federal Transit Authority in order to get yourself through the maze of phases in order to receive funding. We know that we have been working on our funding for the Central Avenue BRT line for the past 5 years. And that's how long it has taken us to move through the pipeline at the FTA. We are poised right now to receive our funding. And more than ever, I do believe that we need a very accomplished advocate for us in DC, because obviously we all are busy people and we cannot be advocating in the Congress daily like they are. But you all know, I'm sure, that the president has announced and the Congress has shown that it's very interested in passing another stimulus package, which will be focused on infrastructure. So because we have so much infrastructure that needs to be done here in our region and in our county, the time is really critical that we move forward with a group that not only knows us, but knows the way in which to get things done in DC. So with that said, I'd like to move the motion, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Motion.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Long.
Ms. Pat Gerard, I second.
Okay, say your name, please, Dan.
Pat Gerard.
Oh, Pat Gerard, I'm sorry. Okay,
Second.
that's why we have to say names, because
I
it
did.
sometimes sounds a little weird coming over the mic. Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second. And now what I'd like to do is ask, do we have any public comment on this, Clarissa? If you would like to make public comment on this action, again, telephone number is on the screen. It is 727-540-1990. The meeting number is 6177, and the password is 86753. Larissa, are there any public comments?
Yes, Tom Rask again.
Okay, thank you. One moment, Mr. Rask. Do we have any other public on the comment line that would like to speak? No, hearing none. You may go ahead, Mr. Rask.
Yes, Tom Rask, unincorporated Pinellas County again. This, under your write-up for this item, it doesn't cite any accomplishments by Vanskoya. None. I don't see why staff didn't try to get a one-year extension given the pandemic and given the fact that PSTA only received one bid in this case. It says right in the write-up that in 2015, PSTA's adopted Path Forward strategic plan calling for an engaging federal government affairs and advocacy firm for the first time to help secure limited federal grant resources. So my understanding is that it was only in 2015 that PSTA engaged a federal lobbyist for the first time. There's no requirement that PSTA have a federal lobbyist. There's background noise now. The record has not been good with this firm. I ask again, what are their accomplishments? There's an article I wrote on TampaBayGuardian.com in February. That's TampaBayGuardian.com. You can just search for Harry or Glenn, and he was quoted. The PSTA's federal lobbyist, Harry Glenn, was spoken about a list. He spoke about a list FTA supposedly has. And he said that everyone was saying at that meeting, including Brad Miller, Janet Long, and Harry Glenn, they were expecting funding any day now. And then, as it turned out, there was no funding for the BRT project. Let me look at the write-up again. As stated on page 2 of the write-up, they were firms that were contacted that did not bid on this. Said they wanted to focus on their current clients. That's all the more reason, if you're even going to have a federal lobbyist this coming year, to just extend it for 1 year instead of entering into another long-term contract. I'd love to hear what their specific accomplishments are, because I don't see any. I'll stop there.
All right, thank you, sir. Larissa, do we have any other comments?
Are there any other comments on the public comment line, call-in line? No, Chair Barkley.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have a motion and a second to renew the contract with Violent Skoyak Associates. I'm going to ask for a roll call vote. Please make sure your microphones are on when you vote. Please make sure you state your name and your vote. Commissioner Gerard.
Yes, Commissioner Gerard, yes.
Commissioner Driscoll.
Commissioner Driscoll, yes.
Commissioner Albritton.
Albritton, yes.
Commissioner Bennett.
Commissioner Bennett, yes.
Commissioner Cox.
Cox, yes.
Commissioner Fenger.
Commissioner Fenger, yes.
Commissioner Gracie.
Gracie, yes.
Commissioner Justice.
Justice, yes.
Commissioner Long.
Long, yes.
Commissioner Rice.
Rice, yes.
Commissioner Sabile. Okay, he's still absent, Julie? Julie, is Commissioner Sabile still absent?
Yes.
Okay,
I will let you know if he returns.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Saraki.
Dan Saraki, yes.
Commissioner Schulman.
Josh Schulman, yes.
Commissioner Welch.
Welch, yes.
And I, Commissioner Joe Barkley, vote yes. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Appreciate your participation. Okay, our next topic is Art in Transit. This is a new contract, and I'm going to call on Abhishek Dayal to please lead us through this.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and board members. This is Abhishek Dayal, Director of Project Management Office. And the item for discussion today is to recommend approval of an agreement with Sea Glass Studio LLC for design, fabrication, and delivery of public art for the Central Avenue BRT project for a not to exceed $662,500. If you recall, back in March of last year, the city of St. Petersburg entered into an interlocal agreement with PSTA to have PSTA manage the Art in Transit project on their behalf, for which the city would compensate 100% to PSTA to manage the Art in Transit program. And that was done in collaboration with the Central Avenue BRT project. So since then, PSTA and the city staff, they've been working with a local artist, Catherine Woods, with Sea Glass Studio LLC to help design, fabricate, and deliver public art as part of the BRT stations that we have been designing for the past year. So the artist team essentially will design and fabricate the art panels for station shelters. And those will be located within the city of St. Petersburg limits. And so that's what this contract is about. I do want to also again emphasize that this is 100% funded by the city of St. Petersburg. There's no PSTA dollars involved as part of this agreement, because that was something that was discussed at the Finance Committee, and the Finance Committee did approve this item. And so with that, Mr. Barkley, I'm going to turn it over to you in case there are any questions from or any comments from the Finance Committee.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Are there any questions from the board with regard to this contract? Please raise your hand and Fred will recognize.
Chairman Barkley, I have a comment, please.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Bennett.
This is Commissioner Bennett. I voted negative toward this at the Finance Committee meeting because even though it's completely funded by the city of St. Petersburg, I just think putting $600,000 for art in approximately 30 plus stations could create problems. I would think we could put art in those stations and do it more financially sound, I believe, I might say. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Raise your hand. Fred will recognize you. Okay. Hearing
Does
none.
anyone else have any comment? Okay. I don't see any other comments. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Hearing none. All right. At this point, I'd like to ask for a motion and a second on this.
Albritton makes a motion to approve.
Thank you.
Commissioner Driscoll seconds.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And Commissioner Driscoll, this is your city, so I appreciate your enthusiasm for this. Thank you. All right. Now is the time for public comment on this item. If you would like to make a public comment on this action item, again, the telephone number is on the screen. It is 727-540-1990. Our meeting ID number is 6177, and our password is 86753. Clarissa, are there any public comments?
Is there anyone on the call-in line that would like to make a public comment regarding the Art in Transit? Yes?
Yes.
State your name, please.
Tom Rask.
One moment. Is there anyone else on the call-in line that would like to comment on this action item? Okay, you can proceed, Mr. Rask, and you have 3 minutes.
Tom Rask, unincorporated Pinellas County. As Mr. Bennett pointed out, this is funded by the city of St. Pete. It's not clear from the write-up that it was, because under fiscal impact, it just says all services provided in this agreement will be funded by the city of St. Petersburg. Their products here in the end, art, and it doesn't say that, it should say here that the fiscal impact is zero. If I compare to the previous items you voted on, for instance, strategic communications under the consent agenda, it says the fiscal impact is PSTA operating funds. If I look at the tire lease, it says that it's funded by operating funds, slightly different language, but still operating funds. If I look at the state government affairs contract, it says the fiscal impact is so and so much per month the first year, $8,000 the second year per month, and $8,500 the third year. If you look at the federal government affairs services, it says fiscal impact funded by operating funds. Again, it doesn't say, I mean, it does say in that case that the total fiscal impact is $420,000, but it doesn't specifically state the fiscal impact per month or per year like it did for the state affairs contract. So that brings me back to this item, the art. It should state very clearly that the fiscal impact of PSTA is zero. And I want to make sure that is in fact the case. Having said that, the idea of buying art for a project that you have been trying to get money for 5 years, according to Ms. Long, it's a bit ridiculous, especially during a pandemic, especially when a Tampa Bay partnership report shows that half the people in the Tampa Bay area will be out of money by the end of this month. To be spending money on a bunch of glass for a line that hasn't been approved, hasn't been funded, probably won't get built. Okay, if the city of St. Petersburg wants to piss away their money on that, they can do that. But it's still a ridiculous item to be voting on at this time. I question whether it's necessary to be voting on it at this time, given the conditions. I wonder why it can't wait for another meeting, and so I'm opposed to it. I'll stop there.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments, Clarissa?
Are there any other public comments on the call-in line? There are no other public comments, Chair Barkley.
Thank you very much. Brad or Debbie, would you like to make any comments? Or Abhishek, would you like to make a comment on the issue raised by Mr. Rask?
No comments, sir.
Okay, hearing none, I'm going to go.
Sorry, Commissioner Driscoll has a comment, I think.
Okay.
Thank you. This is Commissioner Driscoll. I just wanted to thank everyone for being so supportive in the idea of having St. Petersburg contribute to an art element as part of this project. Everyone knows that St. Petersburg is a city of the art, and we take it very seriously in everything that we do, including in at times like this when we have an opportunity to incorporate art into our transportation infrastructure. This is something that our business district and residents along Central Avenue and in those areas around the RT plans are supportive of. City Council has been supportive of the idea, and you know, the fact that it is funded completely by the City of St. Petersburg really speaks to our commitment to not only the BRT, but to making it truly a uniquely St. Pete and Pinellas County project. So the other side of this is that I do think that it is important to approve this now because the money for this is actually going to go to employing and engaging work for one of our artists. So, if anything, there's never been a better time to approve a project like this so that we can continue to, make improvements in our economy at a time when we have some real concerns out there. So I hope that my fellow commissioners will join me in voting yes for this project so that we can keep BRT moving forward and keep our arts economy moving forward as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments. Those are excellent. Anyone else have a comment? Brad, did anyone else raise their hand?
I'm not seeing anybody else.
Okay.
Does anybody else want to make a comment? I don't see anyone jumping up and down, so go ahead.
Okay. All right. Very good. Now I'm going to make a roll call vote, and I want to make sure your microphone is on. Please state your name and your vote. Commissioner Gerard.
Commissioner Gerard, yes.
Commissioner Driscoll.
Commissioner Driscoll, yes.
Commissioner Albritton.
Albritton, yes.
Commissioner Bennett.
Commissioner Bennett, no.
Commissioner Cox.
Cox, yes, and thank you, City of St. Petersburg.
Commissioner Finger.
Commissioner Finger, yes.
Commissioner Gracie.
Gracie, yes.
Commissioner Justice.
Justice, yes.
Commissioner Long.
Janet Long, yes.
Commissioner Rice.
Darden Rice, yes.
Okay. Commissioner Saraki.
Dan Saraki, thank you, St. Petersburg, yes.
Commissioner Schulman.
Josh Schulman, yes.
Commissioner Welch.
Welch, yes.
Okay, and I, Chair Joe Barkley, vote yes. Okay, we had one no vote. All the others are yes. Thank you very much, everyone. All right, and our next item on the agenda is our major item on the agenda, the audit firm selection. So, Al Burns, before I call on our procurement director, Al Burns, to make the presentation, I'd like to express my thanks to my fellow Finance Commission members, Josh Schulman, Vince Cox, Dan Saraki, Richard Bennett, for serving as the selection committee for this audit contract. As I mentioned previously, last week we completed several months of work with video interviews with the top 3 auditing firms. It was quite a difficult and long process, but one I think that served us all very well and made us on the Finance Committee feel very comfortable with our recommendation. Thank you to Al Burns specifically for leading us through this very difficult and arduous process. Al, I'd like to ask you at this point to go ahead and make a presentation to the rest of the commissioners with regard to this project.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. I really want to thank you and the rest of the Finance Committee members. We started this process in January of this year, and we're in the home stretch. With that, Julie, what I would like to do is share my screen if possible.
If you're ready to go.
Okay. Today's action item is to approve a 3-year contract with 2 one-year options for auditing services with Cherry Bekaert LLP for a total contract amount not to exceed $400,000, and authorize the CEO to exercise the 2 one-year options. I'd like to give a little status update and background of all the hard work that the Finance Committee put in. January, the Finance Committee approved an evaluation criteria. That was a state statutory requirement that the Finance Committee approved the evaluation criteria, and they did. We then released the solicitation, and the results of that was we received 6 responses. We used subject matter experts, and the subject matter experts that we used were from Manatee County Transit Agency, their finance person, I think the Deputy Director of Finance from Pinellas County, our very own Julie Lupus, our our accounting director, and Melanie Williams from T-BARTA, their finance person, and Debbie Leas, of course, my boss, were the subject matter experts, and they reviewed the proposals. Before the March Finance Committee, all proposals were evaluated by the Finance Committee's members and ranked. At the end of the April Finance Committee, the top 3 firms presented and were ranked in the following order. Number 1 was Cherry Beckert, LLP. Number 2, Clifton Larson Allen, LLP. And third, Plant and Moran, PLLC. Just a friendly reminder, the Finance Committee could not select the auditing firm. That is the obligation of the Board of Directors. The Board of Directors selects the firm. Please take into consideration that state law requires the board to approve the Finance Committee's #1 ranked firm unless a document in writing why a lower ranked firm is selected. Once again, Chair Barkley, I would like to thank you and the rest of the Finance Committee members for this long process. And I couldn't be so happier to have worked under your leadership and their leadership. Today's action item is to approve a 3-year contract with the 2 one-year options for auditing services with Cherry Beckert LLP for a total contract amount not to exceed $400,000, and authorize the CEO to exercise the 2 one-year options. If you have any questions, board members, I would be more than happy to answer them. Julie, at this time, I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Chairman.
Okay. Thank you, Al. I appreciate it. Okay, now, yes, I think Commissioner Bennett, you had a question or a comment?
No, I just was wanting to approve the recommendation by Al Burns and the Finance Committee for Cherry Bartlett, not to exceed $400,000.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Albritton?
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Albritton. Okay, now, let me just state a couple of things. First of all, Al, I want to congratulate you on doing a terrific job of putting together this whole program. You did an excellent job of the analytical way in which you went about providing us with the data that we could use to evaluate these 6 choices. And also, somebody's talking in the background. Somebody's got a mic open. The second thing I wanted to mention is the fact that the Finance Committee received 3 5-minute videos from the top 3 firms, and we evaluated those, and then subsequently in our April meeting, we had an in-depth video interview process with each of these top 3 firms. So we thoroughly evaluated all the firms and narrowed it down to 3, and then we in turn viewed the information with regard to the types of clients that these firms handle, quality of the firms, their track record, their experience level, etc. And then in our April meeting at the Finance Committee, we in turn also had a video interview process with each of these top 3 firms before we made our selection. Analysis was very thorough, it was very complicated and complex, and I'm very proud of our Finance Committee members for enduring this process and coming up with the selection that they did. Okay, so we have a motion and a second on this. Now's the time for public comment on this item. If you would like to make a public comment on this action item, again, the telephone number is on the screen. It is 727-540-1990. Our meeting ID number is 6177, and our password ID is 86753. Larissa, are there any public comments?
Is there anyone on the call-in line that would like to make a public comment on the audit firm selection?
Yes, Tom Rath.
Thank you, Mr. Durask. One moment. Are there any other callers on the line for this action item? Hearing none, go ahead, Mr. Rask. You have 3 minutes.
Tom Rask, unincorporated Pinellas County. I haven't seen the CAFR for 2020, and I want to make a verbal public records request to PSTA to email me that at tom@ras.com. That's tom@ras.com. If one has been issued, I try to follow things as closely as I can during this pandemic, but the firm you currently have is Clifton Larson. I believe they were the ones that were going to produce the one that was due to come out here in March. In their 2019 audit report, they said a material weakness is a deficiency or a combination of deficiencies in internal control, such that there is a reasonable possibility of a material misstatement of the entity's financial statements will not be prevented or detected or corrected on a timely basis. Well, such a material weakness did surface at your October PSTA board meeting. It was involved $500,000 and went undetected by PSTA staff and by for 3 years. And so before you select a firm that's going to do not the audit that's going to be published this year, not the CAFR that's going to be published this year, but next year, I think the public has a right to see what was in Clifton Larson's report this year, because maybe they put something in there that PSTA staff didn't like for instance, identifying a material weakness, and then the scoring was accordingly. So perhaps somebody can tell me whether the CAFR that was supposed to come out in March has been published. Does PSTA have a copy? And again, if so, send it to me. Just want to point out too that one of the weaknesses with these meetings is I'm at home. There's a lawn service outside. Obviously, you could hear that on the line if they were right outside in the window, but it's very distracting. So let's try to get back to regular meetings as quick as possible. I'll stop there.
Thank you. Is there any response from Debbie Lewis or anyone else with regard to that?
Yes, I can answer that, sir.
Okay.
The CAFR should be coming to the board in May this year. We did have a little bit of delay with all that we were doing with the COVID virus, et cetera. But to my knowledge, there are no findings.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments? Okay. Larissa, are there any other public comments on the line?
No other comments, Chair Barkley.
Okay, thank you very much. So now we're going to have the vote. Again, make sure your microphones are on, and I will call your name. Please state your name and your vote. Thank you. Commissioner Gerard.
Commissioner Gerard, yes.
Commissioner Driscoll.
Commissioner Driscoll, yes.
Commissioner Albritton.
Albritton, yes.
Commissioner Bennett.
Commissioner Bennett, yes.
Commissioner Cox.
Cox, yes.
Commissioner Finger.
Commissioner Finger, yes.
Commissioner Gracie.
Gracie, yes.
Commissioner Justice.
Justice, yes.
Commissioner Long.
Janet Long, yes.
Commissioner Rice.
Jordan Rice, yes.
Commissioner Saraki.
Dan Saraki, yes.
Commissioner Schulman.
Josh Schulman, yes.
Commissioner Welch.
Welch, yes.
Okay, and I, Commissioner Chair Joe Barkley, vote yes. Thank you very much, everyone. Passed unanimously. And I want to thank everybody for participating in this meeting. Are there any reports, correspondence, or future meeting subjects? Typically, I would ask Brad for this. Is there anything, Brad, that you want to comment on at this time?
Yes, if I could, Chair Barkley, if you can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah, I won't go through all the reports in your packet, but feel free to call me or Debbie Leas at any time. And I know many of you are doing that. That's great. I think there's just one thing I would like to note. There are so many items to report actually about the impacts of the coronavirus emergency and all the changes that public transit has had to make in Pinellas County seemingly every day. Next month, you will see a presentation that Debbie and I are working on that is going to detail some of the changes and perhaps some of our best guesses or forecasts for the future in terms of financial impacts, ridership changes, etc., as hopefully we start to emerge from this emergency. But I just would like to say the most important thing for me to end this meeting today is just to recognize the incredible public service and the bravery that more than 600 men and women who are working every day at PSTA during this pandemic to help our community transport more than 20,000 people a day, essential workers where they need to go. Our bus operators on the front line, our service cleaners who have tripled their cleaning efforts, our maintenance technicians, our mask and glove wearing supervisors, and customer service representatives. I'd like to celebrate that we've made it through an entire month of changes already, and we've fared pretty well so far. As usual, my transit colleagues around the United States are pointing to PSTA as innovation leaders, and we will keep working hard in our community no matter what happens. Also, I'd like to recognize, especially today is Administrative Professionals Day, all the professionals like Clarissa and Rachel and everyone behind the scenes who have made this virtual meeting that we've just had a success. So with that, I turn it back over to you, Chair Barkley, to end our meeting.
Thank you. Thank you, Brad. I'd like to just echo your comments with regard to everyone at PSTA. I mean, they have gone above and beyond, and I think they're really to be congratulated for their outstanding performance. I'm very proud of all of them. At this time, I will ask for board comments. If you want to make a comment, please raise your hand, and Brad will recognize you.
Would anybody like to make a comment? Go ahead and just make it if I don't see you.
Brad, this is Commissioner Long.
Go ahead.
I think it would be a really great piece of bright news if you would talk about the dollars that we are receiving from the CARES Act that was just passed a week or so ago.
I'd be glad to, yes. Thank you. So, as Debbie and I are looking into the future, and we'll have a lot more to present to you next month, we are very grateful that I guess it was called the CARES Act 2.0, did include funding for all public transit across the United States. And while we haven't actually received those funds yet at PSTA, those will very much help us fill some of the gaps that we're already seeing in our revenue streams. The biggest revenue stream that we're seeing right away is, of course, because we are practicing social distancing and having everyone get on buses through the back door, we have suspended fares now for about a month. And so we're not receiving fare box revenue. So the CARES Act funding will fill that gap. We're also very worried about state funding that we rely on, because the whole Florida DOT program is funded mostly by gas taxes. So those are obviously in jeopardy. So all of our revenue streams are an open question of where they're going to be going. And so this federal piece will be a helpful shot in the arm, at least for now. Of course, we are still operating a lower level of service. So we are being able to, and maybe a silver cloud is fuel prices are at an all-time low, so we're saving money there. So our expenses are lower, and we're controlling those. We're really just kind of trying to forecast the revenue piece. So the federal funds that Congress approved in a bipartisan way, I will add, are a fantastic news for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any board comments additionally?
Commissioner Albritton, did you have a comment?
Yes, I just wanted to say that everybody stay safe. Thanks for participating in this meeting, and hopefully next meeting we'll be able to get together in person.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Commissioner Cox.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Miller. And also, I would like to thank the entire PSTA staff from top to bottom. I had my car in the shop a couple of times, and I rode the bus to go drop it off and pick it up. And it was timely, professional, and it was just, it's everything that you've said, Brad. And I thank you. I thank you for operating like this. Thank you.
And thank you for wearing a mask, Commissioner Cox, when you rode.
Okay. Anything else? Anyone else have anything to say? All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Our next meeting probably will be held virtually again, and we'll try and learn from what we've done this time. I think this meeting went quite well, and our next meeting will be Wednesday, May 27th, 2020, 9 a.m. Please stay tuned for further guidance. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.